What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. It's time for black people to start making statements about what it is they want from their politicians, because election time is coming up. It's time for elections. And right now, right, we are all talking about what the Democrats or what the Republicans don't do for us or whatnot, right? And we're complaining about the past injustices that we have suffered, via politics, right, in political decisions. Right. And so at this point, we have to evolve the conversation past, oh, they did this to me. Oh, they won't give me this. Oh, they won't give me that. It's time for us to clearly define as black people what it is that we want. Because right now we're all just complaining. Right. Everybody's just complaining like victims. But nobody wants to be a victim. Right. So if you don't want to be a victim, it's time for us black people to stand on our square. Right. Solid, 10 toes down, and say, OK, this is what we want. We need to have a checklist of the things that we want from our politicians. We need thought leaders who dive into political conversations to not only complain about what it is that we don't get from our politicians, but clearly define what it is that we do want from our politicians. I've done this many times, right? So I'm not just saying it and not doing it. I've done it, but I would like to see more do it, including other Pan-Africans, right? So first, we have to look at the landscape as we see it now. So this is how I see what's happening right now from my point of view, right? And I'm talking to FBA as well, right? I'm talking to FBA, I'm talking to African Americans, Pan-African, anybody, any black people, any groups, right? All of us, right, need to pause on our regular infighting to discuss what we all collectively want. We got to start solving a few of these problems, checking some of this shit off the box, right? So, universal health care. Is universal health care something we all want? I believe that that's something we all want, right? Whether you FBA, Hebrew Israelite, Mole, African American, Pan-African, whatever we want to call, pretendian, whatever you want to call yourself. Would you like universal health care? What is that? Universal health care is when the government pays for your health care, subsidizes it so that when you have an emergency, you can go to the doctors and you can get the medical treatment for free. Okay? Now, it works because we have examples of it working in Europe and Canada, right? Now, what are the problems with universal health care? Because everybody's on it, sometimes things can be delayed, meaning your appointment may take a little while to get. Now, if that is a problem, would you rather have the problem of taking a little while to get your doctor's appointment or not having the money to pay for your doctor's appointment? We have to decide which one of those problems we want to have and which one of those would be easier to fix. I would much rather not have to pay for my medical bills and wait a little longer and try to fix the solution on waiting longer. Now, how do you fix the solution on waiting longer? Hire more doctors, more nurses, open more hospitals. How do we do that? We should lobby our politicians to invest in our communities, to open those facilities, and we should demand that to be part of our demand. That should be one of our demands. Why? That also creates jobs. More nurses, more doctors, more physicians, more techs, more everything, right? So it solves a few problems. More jobs, right? That means the state is generating more tax revenue because people got more jobs, right? And everybody gets health care. We have frameworks that we can use from Europe and from Canada. We can look over their framework and say, okay, let's do that, but we can modify it and change and do that. And we need to have our politicians willing to vote that, willing to push that. Obama tried to get it, but there was a lot of resistance because the medical industry does not want it, because our medical industry is for profit. And we all can collectively agree that the medical industry screws us over. That when you go to the hospital, you'd be there for 3 days, you got a $30,000 bill. That's not fair. That's not living, and that's not health care, right? So as black people, a big issue for us has been health care, and that's the reason why we don't have universal health care, because our racist government never wanted to give it to us, and because of that, white people, right, are also suffering because they make sure we don't get universal health care because they don't want us to get health care. But now they're finding out that when they hurt us, they hurt themselves. So universal health care is something that as black people, we can put on our agenda no matter what kind of black person we are. And we know we should not at this point get much resistance from our Europeans and POCs who are also coming to the realization that they also probably would like universal health care. I think that is a issue. All of us, no matter where you are, racially, ethnically, whatever, I think all of us, if we can solve that one problem, if we can let the government give us just one thing, because we know we can pay for it. Clearly we can pay for it. So we don't need to have arguments about we can't pay for it, we can't afford it, because clearly we can afford it. Because we can see what the government is doing right now. They can afford bombs. They can afford genocides. They can afford to pay for Israel's universal health care. So all their citizens can, go to dental, can get their heart checked out, we can pay for Israel, right? We can pay for, let me say it again. We Americans and our tax money can afford to pay for Israel and their universal health care. So why can't we pay for our own? We also pay for their bombs, bullets, and guns. We also pay for their military. We pay for their security. We pay for everything. We pay for the entire country of Israel to operate. I think we can pay for our citizens to get universal health care. I think we got enough money. If we're the richest country in the world, we should be able to afford it, right? I think that's something we can get behind. All right? That's one thing. Number two, the quality of our politicians. Who's getting money from AIPAC? You see, you know what made Barack Obama so good? He took public funded money. Public funded money. Meaning his campaign was ran off our money. So our money was our vote, right? We voted and we supported with our money. Right now, corporations are using money to buy our politicians. Countries are lobbying our politicians. You know what the difference between lobbying and when corruption is? Corruption is when a company will go and pay off a politician, bribe a politician to pass legislation that benefits the company, right? Lobbying is when a company goes in and bribes a politician to pass legislation to benefit the company. It's the same thing. So they're using two words, so one can be legal and one cannot. But there's the same exact thing, same mechanism, same activity, right? We need to get money out of politics. So we need to push for public financing of campaigns. If a politician cannot be supported by the people that they are being charged to lead, then they should not be elected. I don't want a politician that is bought and paid for by Costco, so that Costco can move into somebody's neighborhood and destroy small businesses. And we wouldn't think nothing about it because we would like the fact that there's a Costco there, but there are several small businesses within the community that gets destroyed because of it. That's just an example, right? AIPAC. We need to identify all the Jewish, all the Israeli lobbying organizations, right? And we need to ask the people who are asking to be our leaders, are they getting money from them? And do they plan to continue to get money from them? And then we need to, as black people, decide whether we're going to hold them accountable for them getting money from them in the past, or if we're going to draw the line at the future elections. Because there are some, I understand that politicians, they have to they need money to run these campaigns. And if their people don't support them, then they can't compete against their opponent, right? And so corporations use that as leverage to force politicians to take the money and capitulate. How many ABC, NBC, and shows we done seen where corporations threaten relatively nobodies who want to be politicians? We know the game. We watch it on TV. They manifest that in our TV shows. So we know, right? So we need to identify the politicians and whether they're going to work for us or work for the corporation. Because if they're going to work for the corporation, and they're not going to work for us, then we don't need them, whether they're black, white, Asian, or anything. Okay? So we need to be more intentional about how are you being financed. Barack Obama was public financing. Our politicians, especially the black ones, should be publicly financed. But if they are, that means we have to support. Because if we don't support, we didn't do our part to make sure that politician that we vetted, right, gets to where they need to go to do what we want us to do. We have to be more intentional, and we have to take a little bit more action with our politicians. But that means our politicians need to be involved in our communities more. You can't just be sitting in Washington, D.C. all day and not come home to your constituents. You need to come home and be involved with your constituents. just like that. So it's a two-way street, right? What else do we want? Because right now we complain. What else we want? So healthcare is a big issue, right? Non-corrupt politicians that actually work for us is an issue, right? What else? We need to discuss that. Now, I can think of several things offhand, but then I'd be going all day. But I just think that's something we need to talk. FBA, what do you want? What do you want? Now, you say you want reparations, right? Now, you need to figure out what that looks like for real. You need to get offline and get them to hit them streets and go find out what that would look like for real. How does that manifest itself, right? Now, as an African-American and a Pan-Africans have been fighting for reparations for decades. That's our initiative. I know FBA are a group of people who are just now getting into this political and social conversation, and is telling, because you guys really don't know what y'all talking about for the most part. A lot of y'all have feelings that are mutual about how we are being treated, but as far as how shit work, y'all really don't be knowing what y'all talking about, right? But that could change. You know, stupidity is not permanent. All right, ignorance is not permanent. You can work your way out of that, right? You need to go find out what reparations, what's realistic. It's not realistic that the United States government is going to give us trillions of dollars. They just said they don't even want to recognize slavery as the greatest crime against humanity when the rest of the world did. And not only did they not want to recognize us and the crime that they committed, but they forced other countries, right, certain countries who they are leveraged over. If you look at the countries that voted against it, they were forced to, because America forced them to not recognize it. They are intentional about not recognizing the transatlantic slave trade as a crime, because as far as they're concerned, it was legal back then. Therefore, they didn't do anything. You can't expect a government like that to give us reparations. It's a pipe dream. Deserving it and being able to get it is two different things, because they don't have the money to give us. You're talking about trillions of dollars. So if it's not realistic to get reparation and cash benefits, what can we get? Because it's about reparative justice, right? What do we want? What would satisfy you as far as reparations for all of our free labor? We need to have discussions of what that would look like, because reparations can look many different ways. And we have to negotiate realistically to see what it is that we want. Now, let's say the current government and the people involved in the government are not going to do it. What we have to do then? Replace them. That means we black people need to participate in politics. We have to put ourselves into positions to be able to write the check ourselves. We, African Americans, are uniquely positioned to be able to get into positions of power, right, in order to change the domestic policies of America. If the white politicians are not going to do it, we need to force the black politicians to do it, or else. Just like that. We also, as black people, we can change the foreign policy of America when we get in charge. When Barack Obama was the president of the United States, we were normalizing relations with Iran. We had a great deal. The whole world was onto it. We were on our way to having good relationships with Iran. If Barack Obama's policies would have sat and would have been honored, it's possible we could have been going on vacations right now to Iran. We could have been exploring the culture of Iran, and Iran could have been coming here. We could have been fixing the relationship. But because white supremacy got back involved, right, they upended the black foreign policy and they inserted their white supremacy foreign policy. If black people were in charge, we would not finance and campaign the genocide of Arabs. Our foreign policy would be more positive towards the Middle East. White people policy towards the Middle East have never been positive. If you just look at any history, you would see they've always been fighting, and the white Christian Europeans have always made any excuse to attack and disenfranchise Arabs. Always. Arabs have always been the enemy of Europeans. They have never been united. They've been fighting this whole time. Since before slavery, since after slavery, and it seems to be continuous into the future. And they don't mind genociding Arabs. So you should understand why Arabs have a problem with Europeans. You should see why Arabs have a problem with America, with England, with France, with these countries. The same reason African people have problems with Europe, England, France, because Europeans have been colonizers. They continue to colonize and steal, and they're still doing it now. Europeans have never stopped being enslavers and colonizers. They just keep changing the name and changing the mechanisms of how they do it. So the only people that got the power to stop it is black people. We have the numbers, we have the intelligence, we have the know-how, and we just happen to be in the positions where we can get involved in the governments these Europeans created to take over them. So why are we not doing that? We can't be sitting on it. If you sit on the couch, you are telling white people, it's okay, do what you got to do. I'm just going to complain about it later. We got to get in the game. You can't sit in the stands and complain about why your team not winning. You're not even playing. You're not even participating. You're screaming from the stands. We can't scream from the stands. We got to get involved. We need to take over politics. Listen, white folks are becoming a minority in America. African Americans are one of the largest populations in America as far as group. There's no other group bigger than us. The Latinos, if you put the Latinos, that's not a race. As a race, we are the second biggest group in America. We have a lot of political power we do not wield. That's why they do so much to stop us from uniting, even in America. We have a lot of political power. We just don't use it because we're not focused on political action. We'd rather be distracted by social entertainment. And then we complain without taking political action. And then because we self-deprecate, because the white man taught us how to self-deprecate, right? We attack all of our black politicians without supporting our black politicians. Therefore, they're forced to seek funding and support from other people. And then we try to hold them accountable when we weren't supporting them in the first place. And then we allow black politicians who are grifters taking advantage that they're black, and we allow them to get involved, and they're really for white people. We have to be more focused on the people that are running and representing us. And we have to try to take over politics in every state, every district, in every aspect of the federal government. We need to get involved in all law enforcement. We need to flood all law enforcement with our own people so that we can change the policies of law enforcement. We have the power to do that. We can't sit here and complain without taking any action. As a black military veteran, black people got into the military and changed the environment and the culture of the military from the inside. And we have police officers and security professionals doing the very same thing within the departments that they work in. But you guys don't take that in consideration, and you just dump on black law enforcement and black police officers, black security professionals, as if they're automatic coons, not knowing that if you don't understand it. There's so many black people that keep black people safe from within these institutions because they stop white people from doing what they really want to do if nobody's looking. You got to understand that. It's hard being a black police officer, a black security professional, a black military person, because you got the people looking at you from the outside thinking you cooning, but they don't know that you fighting an internal battle to change the environment from within. Because sometimes the only medicine, when you take medicine, you have to take it internal. That's how it works. If you had a pill that can cure you, it ain't gonna cure you if you don't swallow it. So we gotta be more intentional and take more action on the things that we want. So those are discussions we need to have. Because right now, this is what's gonna happen. Right now, liberal white people and conservative white people have found a new enemy. And that enemy is Israel, is Jews. No longer are the white people in America trying to capitulate to those white people. So they're focused on that. Anybody that says they're against Israel is winning, okay? On the Democratic side, which is and we got to be more politically literate. A lot of y'all talking politics don't know what y'all talking about. Y'all don't know anything, and you're spreading propaganda knowingly and unknowingly. The Democratic Party is a big tent party with different factions within it. African Americans hold 20% of all of our political power is in the Democratic side. All of it. We have 20% of the Democratic Party. We own 20% of that. And we are usually progressives. Progressives have never been given the opportunity to lead. Because corporate Democrats and conservative Democrats and liberals and lefties do not want progressive policies to take hold because they are owned by the corporations that benefit from the parasitic policies of America. Progressive policies look more like social policies, like Mandani in New York. Notice how when he took action using socialized social democracy, right, which is a mix of socialist programs and democratic programs, right? Socialist and capitalist programs, a mix of two, right? You don't have to do all or nothing. You can do some or the other. And if you notice, he's benefiting the people of New York. Even the people criticizing him, only criticizing him that he's a Muslim, right? They can't argue the fact that his policies are popular. And in America, socialist policies are popular. Most Americans enjoy socialist policies, socialist action. Your metro systems in your state, that's socialism. The train stations, the buses, that's socialism. Your state firefighters, that's socialism. Medicaid, Medicare, that's socialism. Your retirement plan, all that's socialism. So when you retire, the government cuts your check, that's socialism. All things that we Americans, right, rely on and look forward to when we have ability to access it. Now, if you take that away and have pure capitalism, guess what? We're all screwed because there'll be no safety net. There'll be no safety nets within the structure to take care of us. You would have to pay cash. When you go to the hospital, you would have to pay cash immediately. There are places that don't have any social programs. You go to the hospital because you're having a heart attack, guess what? Sit in the waiting room and die or give me money. You ain't got money? Well, I guess you're going to die. And guess what? You can't afford to be cremated. Your body's just going to sit there. You're going to throw you in the trash. There are places like that, right? So stop allowing yourself to be programmed by those who deem socialism, all right, as the enemy because they can't make a dollar. Because the only people who would be against socialist programs are people who are going to lose money because of they won't be able to overcharge us. As Americans, we are overcharged. Things cost too much. We shouldn't live in a country to when you're born, right, you're already in debt. We shouldn't live in a country to where you can't get a place to live, basic necessities. We can't live. You telling me we are beholden to corporations in order to live? We can't just go out in the damn woods and build a cabin no more. That's illegal. We can't put goddamn wind turbines in our back house to generate free electricity. That's illegal. We can't collect rainwater, right? Purify it and drink it for free. Why? Because that's illegal. We can't dig wells in our goddamn backyards to get to the groundwater. You know why? Because that's illegal. Why is it illegal? Because the government make it illegal because the corporations make it illegal because they can't make no money if we're able to generate these products for ourselves. And that's the only reason illegal. That's the only reason it's illegal. That's the country we live in. Does that sound like freedom to you? So if you want to change these things to make it so people can at least live, the basic, we're not saying give everybody billions of dollars and let them all buy big ass yachts and shit. What we're saying is when you're born, you should be able to have a place to stay, right? And you should be able to feed yourself without the government telling you what the hell to do because some goddamn corporation want to sell it back to you. Even the crops that we eat, we're forced to eat a whole bunch of stuff from these big box grocery stores when there's plenty of stuff that we can grow in our backyards and eat. It's a whole Ponzi scam. America, and the way it's set up, and its capitalism, is a whole Ponzi scheme, is a pyramid scheme, and it's screwing all of us over. So how do we change that? Because I guarantee you, if we were to focus on the actual issues like a laser instead of flashing like a light, we get shit done, we wouldn't be arguing about a lot of this stuff that we argue about. So as black people, we need to start participating, right? Become more intentional about the things that we want, and we need to start making content about what we want. Put it out there. Because the politicians that's going to be running in the future, how they know what black people want? We ain't telling them. We just complain about what we ain't get, but what do we want now? So anyway, you guys tell me what you think in the comment section. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
I'm so pro-black, you can't get me to involve myself in diaspora wars. I'm every nigga on this earth. I'm African, I'm Caribbean, I'm Afro-Latina, I'm Afro-European. If you're a nigga, I am you, you are me. I don't know what to tell you. You're me, you're me, I'm you. I don't know.
Free Sudan, boycott diamonds and gold. Free Sudan, boycott diamonds and gold. We most definitely cannot forget about the people of Sudan.
Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.